We're excited getting into this one, of course, and I love this. Look at the matchup. We're looking at 80 carries here. Juan Fong on the menu with SOFM.
I mean, they're both very similar, right? In the sense that a lot of how their team is set up revolves around how their jungler does, or setting up for their jungler early on. But it's still about the hyper carries, the late game 80 carries to get them those wins.
Yeah.
We even look at their win rates on certain champions. Both of them excelling on champions like Kai'Sa and Jinx. Both of them undefeated on the Jinx, actually. So
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of contested picks in the bottom lane. And if those are banned out, we're going to go down seeing more things like the Varus, seeing things like the Aphelios, and which one of these 80 carries outside of their comfort zone can step up and be that big threat later on.
But it's exciting when you start talking about things like the Jinx, right? The hyper carry that can change the game. You mentioned, being a big part there on the Chinese broadcast. I just want to drop some quick stats for everyone out there, kind of steal the segment from LEC. It's 4 games now on the Jinx, plus 40 KDA at least here for Juan Fong. Haven't done the exact math, but on the other side, Jolmung, 6-0 on the Jinx, 10 KDA. So it's going to be a big pick for these 280 carries running on in as we finally start round 2 of playoffs. On the other side of the bracket with WE versus Suning, 11.6. Remember, Viego is still disabled. As we run into this one, 180 carry already taken off from Suning in the Aphelios.
And I find this really interesting because we see the Tahm Kench ban coming out on did play 2 games of that in their last series. I think it looked like one of his best champions. Again, when you're a newer support, you're still struggling to fit into a roster. Just feels like a very bread and butter champion. And then the Nocturne, which is just becoming so meta throughout these playoffs. He really puts a lot of threat onto the 80 carries. We're seeing 80 carries like Jinx that are very diveable, and if you can get on that backline, struggle very heavily.
It was first pick yesterday by SOFM too, so I like the target ban, especially from WE as they get the Hecarim under their belt. That's also been pretty pivotal. No surprise there for WE.
And now I want to see where Suning go with it. I think the expected pickup would be something like your 80 carry. They are hovering the Jinx now. And then maybe the Udyr for SOFM, because I feel like right now we have 4 premier junglers, Hecarim, Udyr, Lilia, and Nidalee. Neither of these junglers really play Lilia. We know SOFM is straight a bit away from the Nidalee. They banned it all 3 games in their last series. And Udyr's his most played champion. So actually, the interesting thing, though, with them not going towards it is SOFM. So maybe going to bring out some more of those cheeky pocket picks with the fact that they didn't pick it up first rotation.
Maybe we get something like the Xin Zhao. Let's find out, because you already got a Renekton and Orianna. Solo lane is locked in very early here for WE. They had no cares about matching the bottom lane.
Still, though, this is going to give Bin a counter pick, and we know when Bin can get a matchup he likes, whether he wants to pick up the Gnar now or even save a champion later on, because you could go towards something like the Jace if you wanted, or the GP. Doesn't look like it'll be that. It felt like Bin had a lot of options to deal with it, and this is already setting up for that dynamic that we talked about of, hey, Suning should be able to at least slightly outclass WE in these solo lanes.
That's right, we'll just have to watch what Angel decides to pick into the Orianna in the mid lane. But for the time being, going into the second ban phase, still no bottom lane there for Jolmung and missing. And Kai'Sa, not a surprising takeaway here from Suning.
And I feel like if you're Suning on 4, you should go towards your jungler. They're already showing jungle. There really isn't any reason not to do so. The Udyr is still a champion that's left open. Even if you want to go somewhere deeper down the line and even pick up the likes of an Olaf or something along those lines, I think it's completely fine. And then just save your mid lane pick for last. I guess it doesn't really matter too much in terms of matchup because both of WE's mid and jungle are being shown. But I feel like there's a bit more flexibility in that mid lane pick once you have more of a holistic idea of what WE's comp does. Because right now, a lot of junglers just build Turbo Chem Tank and run at you.
That's true. And there's a lot of dive ability there already with the 2 picks. So I like that you point that out. On the other side, Suning, just note the Alistar has been partnered away as a ban. While WE started banning away some of the mid laners, Twisted Fate, we haven't actually seen as much recently in the LPL. A lot of players been shying away from it. It will be banned away once again. So let's find out what that final pickup is, Lyric, and see if the jungle Udyr is left open as you expected to be picked next.
And, whatever WE bans now, I wouldn't be too surprised. I was going to say if Suning actually just pick up the Azir because it is one of the kind of safest picks left up.
Not anymore.
Again, I would expect the Udyr to come out by any standard team. The fact that it is SOFM and he's played the Kayn, he's played the Xin Zhao. I'm checking in solo queue. He's actually playing Frostfire Gauntlet Rengar. So this is a man of many mysteries.
Yes, it is. And SOFM continues to astound us and amaze us at the same time. Let's hold for a second before we get cute, guys. Because, yeah, I mean, old men are cute as well. There's the Zilean locked in. We saw this from Angel in Game 2 against LNG.
And it just sets up for this, you know, protect the hyper carry kind of composition. I also feel like it does open up some of those more obscure junglers to being a bit better, right? Whether it is bringing the Xin Zhao in, giving them that speed up to get in there, also then having the ultimate, even the likes of the Kayn. So enabling SOFM while still setting up Huanfeng to be that massive carry late game. Zhongmeng on the other end coming out with the Tristana. We've seen it fall off a bit in terms of priority in the LPL, which I would say is a bit strange. It's still being first picked over in the LEC if you're following their playoffs. And for WE, I wouldn't be too surprised to see them just once again go towards a more heavy engaged support. We already saw them hover the Leona and just kind of have a bit of a handshake matchup in the bot lane. I feel like that suits Missing's playstyle much more.
We'll find out. 3 seconds to lock it in. They're looking at the Seraphine, something to buff up the Tristana, but there you go. Added CC, and there's a lot of crowd control to be talked about here for WE. Lyric, I'll ask you about that in a second. I just want to round out Suning's composition because we do have a jungler last pick for SOFM. He's a wacky man, but he might go a little bit standard here to round out game number 1. Let's find out. You mentioned something going down the tier list like the Olaf, and that just could be SOFM's bread and butter for game number 1 as he locks it in finally. So walk me through a little bit of Suning's composition first, because I do see a lot of key ultimates that will change the face of these fights.
Yeah, for the side of Suning, I think you're going to play a bit more around top side. Both of these drafts with the Renekton versus Gnar matchup is a matchup that either side can make a bit volatile, and then it's about which jungler can go and affect that matchup first where you can really find your advantage. We know if it is left to an isolated lane, Bin should be the one winning out, but I don't see too much opportunity in mid or bot early on. Sure, you have a very potent 2v2 with Zilean Olaf, but right, Zilean needs a bit more time. You want to get that level 6 mark, so Suning, we're looking towards top lane early, then we know they scale incredibly well. It's all about protecting Huanfeng, and I actually don't feel like WE's comp is all that different. Shielding mid laner in Orianna, aggressive top side, and kind of 2 meatball supports that are going to fight each other with a hyper carry down there as well.
Yeah, so we've just kind of got the matching that we thought, right, with 2 teams who at the moment feel similar in some regard, but stylistically go very different directions. We do get what we want, right? Junglers are going to be volatile on Olaf, on Hecarim. We're going to see how they gank and how they affect these lanes. Remember what we talked about, ladies and gentlemen? We said that for WE, the bottom lane has the ability to excel, while solo lanes for Suning, and especially as of recently, have been so big. Angel and Bin, man. You're going to get recycling up in that top lane if you're not careful. And I feel like we're going to get an exciting matchup going into this. WE versus Suning, 6th versus 7th. We've all pretty much predicted a 3-2 either way. And WE and Suning, let's hope they deliver as we continue going into round 2 of LPL playoffs for 2021. As we enter Summoner's Rift, of course we can't hear the gyos. I'm assuming they've already started here, Lyric, for WE and Suning, both in Shanghai as well, I do believe. And you talked about similar drafts. Hopefully the crowd can get riled about some fights later on. There they are. And I'll assume we can hear them as some early trading happens in that top side. Now, let's run it back a little bit, sir. It is you and I onto the mic for the first time together in about 3.5 weeks, maybe 4. It does feel like 10,000 years, like I'm starting out in the Power Rangers, but man, it is good to have you here to run through what you said earlier could be one of the most competitive matchups in our playoffs.
I think it definitely will be. Again, I feel like neither team completely outclasses the other in terms of any lane, in terms of like mid-game team fighting. It feels like the one distinguisher is the fact that Suning are a team that typically opts more into playing around side lanes. But yeah, I really want to see how the junglers interact with the map early on. I kind of expected both of them to just clear towards their top side and look to influence that matchup. we do expect them to just both full clear the Hecarim and the Olaf, so I don't think we're going to see too much action in the first 4 minutes around either mid or top. It's going to be coming down to if either of these bot lanes step up. We do see them fighting over that middle brush control right now, and if we can see any kind of cheeky 2v2 kills coming out.
We'll see. Good training in the bottom lane, but Huanfeng and On will hit 2 first in this lane. And you can see already Jomong and Missing pay the respect. There's Attract and Repel, and it's back to the turret for them. You picked up jungle pathing and how it's going to be watched, but maybe doesn't make too much of an impact early. Just note as well, there's good warding from both these teams. Spotted out on the Raptor camp is SOFM by a ward from Shanks, I believe. And Angel, once again with his deep vision, will spot out Beishang on the Raptors. So both teams very aware of where the junglers are going towards, which is opposite sides of the map for now.
I also like the later wards we saw come out from both Breathe and Shanks, because Shanks, of course, is going to push in this matchup, Zilly not having much early wave clear, so he did get that ward that we see on our screen right now, just being cognizant of the fact that SOFM after Raptors can just try to, even if they don't get a kill, pressure gank mid, set Shanks behind, maybe burn a flash, and Breathe on the same side, getting that Tri-Brush ward. Now, junglers are just going to trade Scuttle Crabs. We actually see the early clears going in opposite directions to where Breathe does have a bit of advantage. Bin has been paying some respect because he knows that SOFM did path down towards the bottom side. And then Huanfeng and On getting that bot lane push and going to get some deep vision for SOFM as well.
Yeah, towards the Raptor camp, or rather Krugs, excuse me. It's Huanfeng who drops the ward after pushing out the wave. And there's actually a 10 CS lead as the wave resets as well. And even the top side with the push coming through, there isn't that much of a gap. So already a really good start for Huanfeng and On, which we talked about the volatility in their lane.
And that's the thing, right? It's why we've seen Jinx just be picked up against Tristan and a lot of these longer range AD carries is you get the push with the rockets. It's very easy to go for these trades unless Missing finds like an egregious hook onto Huanfeng that he honestly shouldn't be able to find.
True.
I also really like the ward they place because they know Beishang path from bot to top, so they're going to be able to spot him out right now had they wanted to play more aggressive and contest that wave, and then they'd still be able to back off if they saw Beishang hovering over to look for a game.
I just love this early game is all about vision, right? There's so much priority, more so than I'd say on any other team we've kind of seen. Or at least the camera's paying more attention to it now. Beishang was spotted out on that ward. He clears it away. SOFM the same up in that top side. Teleport's going to be burnt mid, and already the lanes continue to play out as expected. And Jomong even pushing in now eventually too. So he's going to catch up on a lot of that CS. It's top for bottom side Scuttle as a trade-off. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to alert you, this is not going to be as boring as the LCK's Gen G and T1. We do expect some action to come out here. And I wanted to talk to you about it, but just a quick second. Angel's dropping another ward. He's backing away after spotting out Beishang yet again.
And the thing that's at least a bit more interesting, right, is it's become very standard. Junglers buying boots off their first clear.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot more mobility on the map. It makes it so you can traverse from camp to camp quicker. Even if something like, combat stats or Bomby Cinder would let you do that, do the camp faster or do the camp healthier. It feels like this lets you impact the map more, as that's what we're seeing Beishang look to do right now.
Now, he's spotted an ward, but Suning may have thought that Beishang's just going in to get vision, as he's in the perfect position. The flash used, but he's sent back. Hops anyway, stunned up. More damage needed, but they secure it. And WE on the board for first blood.
And just nice setup coming out from WE. We see Breathe keeping the wave in a neutral place, so he can look for that all-in. Hecarim, with all the changes to mobility creep throughout this split. Oh my god, hysterics. It's going down again.
No, the teleport into the gank. Beishang, we're still here. Bin has the Zillion ult from base though, but they still time it out. He thought he was being cheeky. He thought he was being clever, but he just ints to the turret.
That's the thing, right? Is
at least
we thought it was an egregious mistake. It did turn out that he at least had some sort of thought behind it, was trying to be a little bit cheeky. Still didn't pan out. Both Beishang and Breathe are level 6. They're able to back off a second, still guarantee that kill. And when we were setting up before the game, hey, Bin's going to be the one finding an advantage topside. I even think before last series, Suning were a team that much more heavily played around Bin than they did the bottom lane.
Yeah.
And to see it flip on its head as we do see this play come through, I think is going to be a big pain point for Suning.
It's like Angel saw that and thought, man, I don't know why you're doing that, but this'll help. But nicely done from Beishang and Breathe to dive. Dominus helps with that right lyric, and now suddenly Breathe has to assist, but more importantly, Beishang 2 kills. He has himself a bounty. He might be down in CS, but Beishang has done so much for that top lane to start this game off for WE.
I mean, the thing we think about, right, is we look at items. A Bomby Cinder already coming out for Beishang and a pickaxe on the side of Breed. So any top side 2v2s, any early skirmishes that either of them are getting involved in, whether it is going to be the Herald that's coming up in about 45 seconds, as Missing finds the hook.
Yeah, there's disengage rather from On, and nice little mount up, rather crash down. Jobong and Missing will use this to then push the wave.
But yeah, going back to my point before, right, where anywhere a skirmish breaks out for the side of WE, they should be in a much better position right now. We even highlighted like scaling earlier, and despite the fact that, you know, it's an Orianna versus Zilean, Orianna does feel like she provides a bit more in these early game fights, but WE don't care about Orianna or Zilean. They're just going to keep doubling down on their advantage, as they should.
And look at where the wave is as well. It's pushing up against Breathe. So right now he has such an advantage. He's got a level advantage at that as well. And the CS, and Beishang is just waiting for the Herald to spawn. He knows it's his, even walking over the scuttle.
And that's the thing is, WE know that they win the skirmish. They know that they have more combat stats and that there shouldn't be a way that Suning can contest unless they do have a man advantage. It looks like Angel could potentially be there a bit sooner. He's pathing directly through the jungle to get there while Shanks is going through lane. But SOFM has Smite, this just could come down to a 50-50.
They're at the same level, the exact same one. Onto the eye, he just takes it, runs in with Ragnarok, doesn't care. Beishang has his ult available, but the flash over the wall, and SOFM is the agent who never dies. He'll just walk out of there, and Beishang can't do a thing.
I'm wondering why Beishang backed off. If you look at top lane cooldowns, Bin actually used his ultimate, so maybe he ulted Breathe, and Breathe wasn't able to hover down. So Beishang just felt like he had to respect SOFM coming in, and the fact that Angel still wasn't showing on the map, right? Because he didn't path the mid lane, he pathed directly through their red side jungle.
And remember, it's not like Beishang can take that loss and then go, all right, I'll get Dragon anyway. That was taken by Suning earlier in the game, so that is a win as Super Mega Death Rocket to try and get the splash and secure blue. At least Beishang will give Shanks over the buff and walk away with a scuttle as well. But for SOFM, he's kind of recounted what happened in the top lane. And Lyric, where do you put this? What do you do with this as SOFM's invading still?
I mean, we can see WE are going to go for the contest. Missing's making his way over as well. We can see that Beishang is pretty much already here.
Not enough damage yet, and Ragnarok was down, but SOFM doesn't care. He walks away. Level 8 versus level 7, and I mean, those two deaths on Bin, those were a great start for WE, but SOFM's actually accruing a pretty big lead in this jungle.
You know, I honestly think in that position, WE should have just accepted the fact that, you know, they invaded the bottom side blue, they're giving that over to SOFM, and the big victory would be the fact that they were getting vision control bottom side. Dragon was coming up in about a minute at that point, now we're down to 35 seconds, and it's like, okay, you know, we're not going to be able to play around our advantage as heavily, but we're setting up for the next advantage we can get. They have TP advantage on their Renekton, and I still hope to see WE go for that. They do have more vision in the bottom side river than Suning does. Now we just want to see them group up with Missing. Shanks is already pushing out. He's getting a word topside for some reason. I just want to see WE look to take this objective that should be free.
Well, they're moving down there for now, at least. The vision control you mentioned is continuing to push into the enemy side of the map. Missing's actually moving up himself. You talked about his ward placement as Shanks actually going to get the shockwave down into mid. Angel has his own ult and holds on to it with the very breath of life. Shanks walks away, and especially after that, you feel like the Dragon is even more guaranteed as SOFM walks through, and SOFM might have to watch out himself, but Beishang not willing to die.
So we're going to at least see them force the backs. This will guarantee that Dragon that we talked about. Beishang's backing, my bro. What are you doing? The objective's right there.
He's stayed around for now. He was on a ward, but yeah, he is backing. And SOFM, this is going to give him time to come back on the map. He stopped it. He thought, actually, there's a Dragon that kind of looks like me with 2 less legs, and Suning will actually have their jungler out here if they want to contest.
We need to remember that Breed still does have TP advantage. True. Also, Breed will be about to have that dominance up. Suning want to look for the contest.
Oh my god, it happened again. And you know what? Super Mega Death Rocket will do it. Breed TP'd! He TP'd after the fact! Suning just won again.
You know, it's not even surprising anymore when Super Mega Death Rocket does that, but
true.
still, it felt like WE just sat on the tempo of that play far too long. They know they forced Angel to back. Sure, he does have TP, he does have Unsealed Spellbook, but they also know that, SOFM was pushed away. Shanks could have been leaning towards that side earlier. They already had the TP advantage, and it just feels like a missed chance for WE to where, sure, you've gotten the advantage in terms of, like, having winning lanes and abusing that, but Suning are the team getting every single objective.
And man, Huanfeng gets the gold for the Dragon, and he's also going to get the turret plating here, but Beisheng running in like all horses should. That's the wombo we wanted to see. He's brought back, and down he goes. Magnet Storm's way too late, and the Shockwave ends up giving a double over to Missing. Not the person you wanted on, but at least for WE to fight back and punish hard.
So the dynamic of the game stays the same, right? Suning are the ones making these more objective-focused map plays, not really looking for kills. They're taking it a bit slower. They're prioritizing a lot of farm onto their jungler and their carries, but WE are still the ones pulling the trigger. I really like what Beisheng did. Sat behind his bottom lane. Like you said, just ran in there, as all Hekarims now are able to do with Phase Rush, Ghost, and all the other movement speed in this game. Missing follows up, and just really nice coordination coming out from Team WE.
Missing now has a bounty. You don't want to give that over to SOFM, and Jolmong stops his back in the process. Ragnarok used. There's the double rocket jump after getting the shot down. Gets hit with the Undertow, though, as a TP to follow up. Busts the shot to disengage. SOFM still has his flash, though, as Undertow connects, and the rocket from downtown. Bin gets the easy flash down, and Suning with a double trouble, and now you are, if you're WE.
WE thought they were punishing SOFM, but they go a bit too far. It lines up for that TP from Bin. WE should know that Bin has TP advantage now. Seemed like they were tracking that summoner with the play they made with the Renekton early on. Still, though, Bin is going to end up losing out, but if you look at the minimap, it actually won't be too much. Angel moved up to catch that wave, make sure that Suning aren't losing any passive gold or EXP on the map, as Bin just cleared the wave in mid.
Dude, Huanfeng's ulti so far, I'm going to say that's 2 for 2. Definitely on point from what we've seen. And, oh man, for Suning, I've got a couple of questions to ask you, Lyric. It is a 1k gold lead still for WE, but the shutdown onto the Nautilus that we never expected goes over to SOFM. And suddenly he's in a great position for this game, already having a CS lead. And as Missing goes to invade, I was going to ask a very important question. You said these compositions function similarly. Well, here, going down on the bottom side, it seems like they overextended on WE's side. I'll have to pause the question as we watch this one again.
Hysterics, we know what happens here. WE were looking for it. They thought they caught SOFM being over-aggressive. They weren't considering Bin's TP coming through. The Super Mega Death Rocket also able to follow up. But going back to your question, I feel like the longer this game goes, it does favor the side of Suning more with how these compositions interact. It's going to be very hard to get on top of Huanfeng with Bin, SOFM, and On functioning as meat shields, as well as the Zillion ult able to come through. They also do have a bit of a range advantage there with both the bombs from Zillion and then just Jinx as a whole. So Suning definitely going to have a good formation. Is Beisheng still looking for the fight?
Won't stop them for now, though. Yeah, Beisheng's going in quite deep. Forces out Ragnarok again from SOFM. He holds onto the flash, but this time, WE exerting the pressure to get the Rift Herald down, and this will be secured quite nicely. Now we have to question is the Super Mega Death Rocket was actually moments away yet again.
I love that he has the confidence to keep going for it. When he's been successful so many times, why don't you just keep utilizing it off cooldown? That's something really cool about AD carries with globals. I've noticed when you see like a player who's the best at something, I think the obvious example is Prey with Ashe. The fact that it seemed like every time the Enchanted Crystal Arrow was off cooldown, it was being used. And it looks like Huanfeng taking Jinx in the same vein.
Yeah, we've seen so many compilations. You said it before, like Super Mega Death Rocket, the percentage missing health that it does, especially to these neutrals, is pretty insane. And as we come back to the game, just note that before we saw the Herald going down, I got a question for you that the Herald placement, are we just going to see it mid? What do you expect to see here from Beisheng to kind of heighten this game and bring more tempo for WE in this early game?
I would definitely expect to see it mid. I think WE can look to go top as Breeze.
He's in a lot of trouble. Ult backwards to keep him in range. Dominus burnt. Bin misses the house for the 3rd time. Mortgage wasn't fully paid off there, so Breeze will get out alive.
Yeah, and we saw that Breeze's Rage Bar was also stacked up, got the Q off, went from like 20% HP to 45% HP in an instant. But Dragon is back up, so we're going to start seeing these teams hover and posture on mid lane to get this vision control on the bottom side of the map. I like what WE's doing. They're sending Breathe top, realizing his TP's coming back up and Bin's isn't. So Suning in response realized, hey, our top lane turret's almost gone. Let's just overload the bottom side of the map. Maybe get a TP out of Breathe or even just outright get this objective. But I love what SOFM's doing, just forcing in that wave bot. The other 4 members going to defend mid.
And he's going to be walking across from the bottom side all the way through for a potential flank. WE grouping up behind the Herald, who will help get the mid lane turret. As it goes down, Missing sets up the engage onto On. Dissonance follows with a lot of damage as well. And as Herald falls down, SOFM now spotted out. And they're in the river, waiting for the objective to start.
Yeah, and again, SOFM just utilizing the tempo he gained from bottom lane. He pushed that in all the way. Breathe not finding any opportunity to TP with the fact that Suning did just kind of accept the pressure that WE put on them. Had to make his way down. They did clear out vision, but it looks like Suning are comfortable giving this one up. I think for their composition, it's fine as well when we've highlighted, hey, the later this game goes, it does feel a bit better for Suning. I don't want to discount WE by any means because they do have a Tristana, they do have an Orianna, and they do have a nice, I'd say, ball delivery / wombo combo coming out with the Hecarim in there as well. So, going to be options on both sides, but Suning electing to scale for now.
But I guess, you know, the part that I really like when you talk about Suning is, you know, when you see a Zilean in the game with a hyper carry, remember that Zilean kind of acts like steroids, right? You've got a speed up, but you've also got a revive. And when you build GA as an AD carry, if you get towards those 5th, 6th items and you decide to opt in for it, then you have 2 lifelines as well. So I think it's something important to note. And
another aspect that I feel like people maybe forget or overlook is the fact that you provide so much zone control as well, right? You throw down your bombs now as well with Everfrost being so strong in the meta. It's not like you can just run at the enemy AD carry with all the zoning as well as the ultimate coming out from the Zilean. So there's definitely a lot of things that play to what make Zilean strong in a composition like this. And I mean, heck, he's gotten to scale up for free. 174 CS is behind Shanks as
Bin is going in. Boomerang.
As my voice cracked a little bit.
Yeah, it's all right. You're not too cracked. That's okay. But, you know, coming back to scaling, just while we have a bit of a lull state going across the rift, waiting for this next dragon, I think the bigger thing for Suning this game so far has been that steal. The steal on the second dragon means WE can't force towards a potential early Elder, towards an early Cloud Soul, with a comp that does like to go fast as well. So it feels like Suning got one for free to elongate this game, an extra 5 minutes than expected.
I mean, that's the thing, right, is the first Herald, SOFM just walks up and takes it. That Dragon as well, he was able to do the same. So those were definitely some nice pickups. I think Cloud Soul definitely, you know, is amazing on both compositions. That's not surprising. In this meta, it feels like Cloud Soul is great on almost everything. Going to get a lot of value out of that. And now what we're going to see is just both teams opt into picking up their side waves. This is where Bin can start trying to thrive and shine. The thing he'll always have to be careful of is Beishang shadowing Breathe on that side of the map and, you know, a potential pick coming off. Because, again, with the Turbo Chem Tank, with the Ghost, Beishang can traverse the map in a second.
And he'll have a Dead Man's Plate soon as well on Beishang. Also note, while we are talking about junglers, there is a 2-level difference that could be coming up in conversation as we get more around these neutral objectives. SOFM has been farming up a Storm as we expect. And on this Olaf, while Beishang was making impact top, while Bint was Bin, excuse me, slip of the tongue, I swear, was dying to the TP turret, SOFM was still farming, and he's up 40 CS in that jungle, has gone back towards the Gore Drinker Olaf when a lot of others are going towards Stride Breaker. So I just love that SOFM does what he wants when he wants.
For this composition, with the fact that, right, we've talked about the zone control, the kiting back, I think it will be very, if teamfights break out, they will be very brawly. So I think the fact that he, you know, bring the Gore Drinker, completely understandable. I think items across the board are very typical and expected. As we see Jomung forced out, so both teams right now starting to make that play where they're fighting for vision control over the bottom half of the river. Is 140 until Drake.
Hang on. Camera pans away at the wrong time. Beishang stops SOFM's back, but his whole team was waiting for it. That was a ruse, and it was so well played by Suning.
Yeah, great punishment coming out. We didn't even get to see how that one happened, like you said. Just a bit of unlucky timing coming out from the observers. Still, there isn't going to be anything that Suning are able to do with this pick. Death timers aren't long enough for them to be able to transition onto a Baron. Also, we've highlighted a lot of AoE and a lot of like tools that can threaten Suning if they do just go into that pit. But we're going to see here Beishang just walking up, actually E'd in. I mean, they don't have vision over the wall, so I guess he theoretically doesn't know that they're all there. Gets punished. Not much he could do, but don't know if that was the play.
That was a bro squad for Suning. SOFM thinks he's got caught out. Yeah, there's a flash of the Pyro post the play. Was able to give another kill over. Suning dead even in gold pretty much. Lyric's already told you about the scaling while it favors Suning. So for WE, getting into a bit of a predicament here. I do like that you also mentioned the wombo potential and how for WE, even if there is a scaling advantage for Suning, WE always have that threat of that explosion in the fights. The ball delivery system you mentioned as well. So we could be getting towards the 35 minute mark in this game where both teams feel comfortable enough to fight, leaving it up to that individual impact that we talked about opening our segments where both teams really like to, I guess, put faith in different lanes.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because I don't think that this is like an outright scaling advantage in terms of the stats that are going to be on the Rift. We've already highlighted Tristana, Orianna, Hecarim, Zilean, Jinx on the other side. It's a lot more of like the play patterns of these compositions and how they'll do in front of neutrals, how they'll do at, you know, fighting over Prio in the mid wave. As Bin's looking for this. Beishang's here.
Not enough damage though. Not confident to go forward, and Bin just gets to stay in the wave while pings are going towards the mid lane, missing anchoring for a hook. As Dragon now spawns. WE still trying to move into the river and they have priority for now. Let's see if Suning want to contest and push in.
One thing I want to highlight is how well Suning are playing with lack of vision. Oh, missing
going in. That forces
out
the Ragnarok. That means SOFM can't just blindly walk in and go for the steal while Bin and On are on the other side of this Dragon. They peel off and Suning decide to give it up as Missing actually flashes for the hook, hits a minion instead. And Angel is an absolute clock wizard as Beishang goes in the background. He gets knocked up and can't use his ultimate. That's a great pick for WE as SOFM flashes over the wall. His ulti was already burned. And for WE, they continue forward. There's another flash as Missing, contrary to his name, does not miss.
And both teams are honestly just playing around vision so well. We saw Suning doing it to start off, kind of utilizing that control ward they have over the wall to get some poke damage out. And then for WE, we see Missing going into that brush. I feel like SOFM popped Ragnarok way too early, didn't realize how few members were theirs. I gotta stop because WE are looking to bait out this fight.
They do it fast with the Tristana. Look at Joel Mung, going to be crucial in this fight. Huanfeng at full HP as well. Ragnarok's still not up and available as Bin's going into the Mega Gnar. Over into the pit, WE have bursted out. And Suning said, we'll take it, no problem. But the shockwave from Shank's great. Can Joel Mung and this mid laner clean it up? As SOFM says no. Joel Mung running for his life as the undertow connects with the flash. And WE left with 180 carry and a lot of blinking health bars.
WE trying to find the fight. They go to the Baron. They think that they can win it with the numbers advantage that they have available. But just great play coming out from Bin and Huanfeng is Joel Mung.
Can he do this?
What's the challenge?
The biggest question is, as he walks over, gets stunned. A lot of low health bars again, but Bin has teleported back at full HP. Joel Mung at half. But Baron is going to be given over. Suning have the edge in this game. A 3k gold lead and a fight that shortly we're going to be remembering for a while.
Hysterics, this is why so many of us predicted a 5-game series, because this game so far been on a knife's edge. The team fights have been close. The objective traits, everything has been close. We do see this coming out from Missing. Actually gets locked down. Really nice from Angel, but still, as we said, Olaf is already kind of forced out of the fight, doesn't have the Ragnarok anymore. Beishang just able to start this one off. Really nice follow-up from Breathe and Jomung as well with the jump. But here is where we saw Suning fight back. It is a numbers disadvantage for them. Angel is down, but keep your eyes on Bin. He is stacking that rage bar. Really nice engage from On. Chained in with Bin going in as well. Only knocks 2 members back, but it gives all this room for Huanfeng to deal damage. It was a really valiant effort from Shanks with that ultimate, but still not able to do enough. Really great to see from On, setting that play up. Bin with the follow-up, and just letting Huanfeng be that big hyper carry.
As Beishang's not done, WE actually starting the fight again. Shockwave hits 3 though. Zilean will come out. We're about to dance to the Chrono Shift as he comes back, but On has done it again. Gets the Attractor Repel, and now Huanfeng's free hitting. WE are destroyed because On is no longer off. WE dead, and Suning with the Baron have the game in the palm of their hands.
And it's so great to see a rookie like this stepping up. On had all the question marks around him this split, but 2 amazing engages this game set up Suning for the win. And Suning just having so much momentum off their last series. It is a pleasure to watch.
They're running it forward, Lyric. A game 1 that was a bit back and forth. WE forced that play, but Suning outplayed in the end. A game 1 that has really ramped us up. In 26 minutes of Suning run into the Nexus to take game number 1. They'll look for the kills as they finish off. The Shockwave comes through, but it's not really a Shockwave, rather, as the Magnet Storm will complete